Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into the incredibly strict, highly procedural world of aviation emergencies and security protocols. You know, when you're cruising at 35,000 feet, safety isn't just a suggestion. It's this meticulously engineered framework of international laws, hidden codes, and rapid response strategies. Today, we're going to unpack the exact playbook that pilots, air traffic controllers, and security agencies use to manage the unthinkable. Because, as we'll see, in the sky, chaos is absolutely never an option.
So here's our flight path for today. We'll start by looking at the invisible safety net. Then we'll decode the secret language of the sky, talk about the unpredictable human element, and finally, we'll wrap up with anti-hijacking protocols.
Section 1. The invisible safety net and understanding alerting service phases. Every single moment a commercial flight is in the air, it's being tracked against a rigid schedule. And if something goes wrong, under international standards, specifically ICAO Annex 11, emergencies follow a really strict three-phase escalation. It all starts with Step 1, INSERFA, which is the uncertainty phase. If things don't improve, it bumps up to Step 2, ALERFA, the alert phase, where, real apprehension sets in. And finally, if grave and imminent danger is apparent, we hit Step 3, DTRESFA, the distress phase. This phased approach is brilliant because it ensures rescue centers scale their response perfectly, so they're completely ready without overreacting.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the stark contrast between how an emergency starts and how it culminates. For instance, an INSERFA phase can be triggered just by missing a 30-minute check-in. That's just uncertainty. But compare that with DTRESFA. That is the absolute certainty of danger. It's triggered when, say, an aircraft's fuel is mathematically estimated to be totally exhausted, or there's confirmed information of a forced landing. It's literally the difference between thinking, where are they? And screaming, launch the rescue units right now. Moving on to Section 2, the secret language of the sky, focusing on visual signals and codes. Okay, so what happens when those high-tech radios go completely silent? Well, visual communication literally becomes a matter of life and death. If you ever find yourself as a survivor on the ground after an off-field landing, you can actually communicate with searching aircraft using these exact ICAO's standard visual symbols. You can make these out of fabric, rocks, or even by just stomping down snow. A V generally means you need assistance, but pay attention to the X. That specifically denotes a medical emergency. Knowing the difference between laying out a V and an X could completely dictate whether the rescue team brings standard extraction gear or vital emergency medical supplies. But here's the catch. Drawing a tiny little X out of pebbles isn't going to cut it when search and rescue units are flying thousands of feet above you. To make sure these critical signals are actually visible from the air, aviation regulations mandate they have to be constructed to a minimum size. They need to be at least 2.5 meters, or about 8 feet, long. Scale is absolutely everything when you're trying to catch the eye of a fast-moving SAR aircraft. So, you've built your massive 8-foot symbol. How do you know it worked? Well, when the search aircraft spots your signal, they don't just fly away and leave you wondering. They are trained to acknowledge you immediately. During the day, the pilot will let you know they see you by rocking their wings laterally. At night, since you obviously can't see the wings moving in the dark, they'll flash their landing or navigation lights twice. It's essentially this giant visual handshape across thousands of feet of empty air. And this visual language isn't just for the wilderness. It extends right to the airport itself. Let's say an aircraft loses its radios while approaching a controlled airport. Air traffic control will actually use directed, high-intensity light guns to guide them in. A steady green light beamed right at the cockpit, that means you're cleared to land. But a flashing red light is a critical warning. It means the aerodrome is unsafe, do not land. And even on the ground, a steady red light beamed at a taxiing aircraft is a command to stop immediately. Down on the ground, during an actual emergency evacuation, aircraft rescue and firefighting personnel, or RFF, have their own highly specific physical gestures to command the flight crew. Take a look at this one. The firefighter has their arms in front of their head, crossed at the wrists. This specific gesture tells the cockpit crew to immediately halt an evacuation that's already in progress. If firefighters spot a fuel spill or an active fire right outside the exits, this is the signal that stops passengers from jumping out into even greater danger. On the flip side, we have the emergency contain signal. Here, the firefighter's arms are extended outward and down. This tells the crew that there's no outside evidence of dangerous conditions anymore. It's basically the all clear. It's a really vital piece of communication that lets the pilot safely step down the emergency response inside the cabin. All right, so up to this point, we've talked about how the industry handles mechanical failures, lost comms, and environmental hazards. But that leaves us with a really critical question. How does aviation law handle the most unpredictable variable of all, human behavior? Which brings us to Section 3, the human element and handling unruly passengers. Airlines absolutely do not just leave this up to the flight crew's intuition. They employ a strict, legally backed system to monitor, de-escalate, and handle disruptive passengers. The regulations classify unruly behavior into three incredibly clear escalating tiers. Level 1 covers disruptive stuff like verbal abuse or aggressive gestures. Level 2 escalates to physically abusive behavior, think pushing, hitting, grabbing. And Level 3? That is the most severe, life-threatening behavior. We're talking murderous assault, intentionally damaging aircraft systems, or trying to breach the flight deck. Identifying that tier instantly dictates the crew's legal and tactical response. Now notice the heavy emphasis on restraint here. Cabin crew are highly trained to verbally diffuse those Level 1 situations first. Physical restraining devices are strictly, and I mean strictly, a last resort, used only for the safety of the flight. If an unruly passenger actually has to be restrained, the pilot coordinates with airline central control, and when that plane lands, there's no walking away with a warning. The offender is immediately handed over to security agencies, and a formal First Information Report, or FIR, is legally lodged. That often results in getting slapped right onto a national no-fly list.
And now our final section, Part 4. Anti-hijacking security protocols, the ultimate airborne threat.
So if we move beyond an unruly passenger, we hit the absolute highest level of human threat in aviation: organized unlawful interference, basically hijacking. The protocols here are a masterclass in silent coordination. The very second an aircraft is seized, the flight deck door locks down, and the crew will silently dial the number 7500 into their transponder. This four-digit code is essentially a secret distress beacon. It instantly alerts air traffic control radar screens all over the world that the aircraft has been compromised, and it does it without the hijackers ever hearing a single word spoken over the radio. So what does ATC actually do when they see that 7500 code? They treat it with extreme operational discretion. The radar track gets flagged, and controllers acknowledge the emergency silently. They are strictly trained to avoid asking direct questions over the radio, like, "Hey, are you being hijacked?" Because obviously hearing that could easily escalate the hijacker's aggression. Instead, they isolate the radar track, provide priority vectoring, and immediately get national security and defense agencies on the line to prep an intercept or a ground response. But the protocol doesn't just stop when the wheels touch the tarmac. Once that aircraft is on the ground, international law takes absolute authority. Under the 1970 Hague Convention, there's this critical legal principle called aut dedidere, aut judicare. Basically what this means is that wherever that aircraft lands, that specific nation is legally obligated to either extradite the hijackers back to the aircraft's home country or unconditionally prosecute them right there under their own laws. There are zero safe havens. The whole system is designed to ensure hijackers always face justice. And to really underscore just how severely this crime is treated on a domestic level, take a look at India's Anti-Hijacking Act of 2016. It mandates life imprisonment for the offense, no exceptions. Furthermore, it prescribes the death penalty if the hijacking attempt results in the death of any passenger, crew member, or security personnel. The legal net is just as airtight as the operational one. Wow, so we've covered a tremendous amount of ground in this explainer today, from the silent countdown of an INSRFA phase and the massive visual lifelines drawn on the Earth, to these strict legal boundaries governing passenger behavior and those ultimate airborne threats. Having decoded all of these strict emergency protocols together, I'll leave you with this thought. How does knowing about this hidden ironclad safety net change the way you view your next time up in the sky? The next time you buckle that seatbelt, just remember, you're flying inside a masterfully designed system of protection. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer. Keep learning and fly safe.